Greetings, I'm Stasia Bliss. I want to talk about Lemuria. There is an energetic that's been pouring through the last few days, especially yesterday and day before, the most as we get into this solstice energy. Tomorrow, if you're watching this at the time of recording, tomorrow is the 12/12 gateway, so there's another push of energy through. I'm excited to feel what that is. But this Lemurian timeline that's reintegrating itself, that's wanting to be reintegrated, is a time when beings on this planet were very attuned with nature, very attuned with the different realms, the animals, the minerals, the plant kingdoms, and also hidden realms to us now, like the fairy realms and elves and the tree people and so forth. So we went so far into what you might call the organic timeline, where all of that magical part of life too, the connectivity on the spiritual level to Earth, was very much enhanced. And that is something that wasn't able to continue. And when we look at the patterning at Atlantis, in other words, that went toward the technology and the programming of the crystals and the creation of energy and pyramids, and the way to harness that with technologies was highly advanced. But when you fill out those two things, you can feel that one is void of the other. And yet there's a need for both of those energies. So there was heart and mind in Atlantis. It went toward the mind too much. It went like in the AI direction too much. So it was like it had a self-destruct because it was void of the heart, void of love. And since love is what creates the creative impulse, anything that completely strips itself of that or tries to will not make it, will fall. So what I'm feeling happening right now is we've already had Atlantean timelines coming back in, and if you don't know anything about that, Amira is, I'm trying to remember what she calls her name on her YouTube channel. I'm so sorry, sister. Amira Beth Murr Priestess, I think that's what she goes by. Anyway, she's been bringing those codes in for a while, and so that energy is returning in order to assist in the recalibration of where the timeline may have wanted to go with the current Earth situation and the technology that's trying to be implemented right now, which is, that to link individuals more with technology, and link those two online. But we also have now the Lemurian energy that's rising. And it really is because of all of the people on the planet, all the star seeds on the planet that know in their soul, know that they're part of the organic timeline. They're part of it, and they're just popping, and you guys are awakening to that awareness. And so the Atlantean timeline is now being merged with the Lemurian timeline. The Lemurian energy is coming in and is awakening the organic beings. So many of you have a Lemurian connection, which also has other star race connections through that. But so that is coming in, which is wanting you, it's even causing you to turn more toward and cleave more into the relationships you have with plants and herbs and the animals, and also the gemstones, those of you who are drawn to crystals and so forth, which is in a slightly different way than the Atlanteans, which is very much intentional and programming. And though Lemuria did learn to do that, and at the end, that's how a lot of their information was buried, and that's why saved is you can work with the Lemurian crystals, which had been programmed, and that was something that was brought into them to learn. So as this timeline's coming in, I'm feeling how it's important to learn that if that's what you're drawn to. But there is there are some who are the stitchers, who are responsible for weaving the timelines together or participating in that. And we all are to some degree, but some are more focused and walking down the middle. And I do know some of you out there who decided to participate in the thing going around, choice going around some places, and while still attempting to maintain their organic timeline. And so those two are coming together in some light workers right now. So much of the information also from the Lemurian timeline, because we did have longer lifespans in that time, is the science of longevity, the fabled fountain of youth information, which is really just learning how to self-regenerate and self-rejuvenate. And that's all in us already. We've just been sort of mentally hijacked in the old 3D earth. And of course, you have to think of it also in a way like matrixy, like it was an experiment that we opted into doing. We wanted to experience that fallen timeline to really, in my opinion, drop us into our 3D bodies fully, because we had to get completely in these suits for the next part of the project, which is to now ascend with the body. So in previous times with swamis and yogis and so forth, that timeline and that era was learning how to transcend the body consciously and leave the body at will, and also learn to return to a body at will, a conscious conception, or a reincarnation where someone comes back into the same sort of manifestation or height, I guess, of evolution. They're more conscious of who they're going to, which exists in some of the lamas and so forth in the East. But that was leaving the body. And because the body is required for full ascension, full divine ascension, that's this next project that consciousness seems to be working on through us, is to ascend these molecules in our physical bodies into a Christed state on a more collective level, not just one representative or several teachers across the planet, but on a large scale. The planet is with as many as who are able to ascend these bodies with the flesh, to spiritualize matter. Science already knows the body is constantly rejuvenating itself and regenerating itself. I'm reading another book right now. I can't remember what it's called, but it is a scientific book, and they're talking about there's a doctor that rejuvenated his brain and rejuvenated organs that were failing him from having picked up a lot of microorganisms traveling and whatnot. I'm trying to remember what the name of that book is. Anyway, he's talking about the same things, that we have replenished, within 7 years, our entire body has been completely given all new cells. So why do we show signs of aging? And he gives some, clues as to that, which have to do a lot with what you're eating and environmental pollutants, but also your thinking and your spiritual connection too. And then the Lemurian information is well, what is it? What is the way of thinking that is? Part of it is we're not expressing our full self. Our full self is the luminous nature. But of course, then we have to get into what is the whole self? And we look at reclaiming all the parts of us, and all the parts of the body that have been dropped into separation, duality consciousness, which the Lemurian information gets a lot more deep into that. And so if you are interested in having more of those chats, let me know. Send me an email, stasiabliss@gmail.com, or you can comment below with your email, or you can find me on Facebook and just pop me a message that yes, you're interested in learning more about this stuff. So some of this Lemurian stuff I studied with one of my mentors and teachers, Almeen, some years ago, and she was the first one that really gave me some concrete, solid information to study around that. And so I went through some of her programs, and some of the information that I would like to perpetuate and share is the Lemurian science of peace and immortality as was transmitted by Almeen, and what I have also learned in doing those practices. And also the Kivesta, which is a Lemurian manifestation device, not like manifest a Ferrari or whatever, but manifesting ourselves into the next reality. That's really what it is. It's a tool for assisting our consciousness to wrap itself around what this new reality that is oneness, that is unity, that is ascension. What does that look like in our minds? How can our minds think about that in a new way? And so that's been the most useful tool to calibrate me to oneness, that when I went through that, it was like really impossible to go back without seeing things that way. You know, we can still act in old human ways sometimes, as we're all kind of getting it out of our system right now in a way. You know, if you've been going through any sort of detox, and I don't call it a cold, I call it a detox, because that's the new world languaging to step us out of the death disease paradigm and into the life and self-rejuvenation paradigm. So detoxing, shadow stuff coming up, or in other words, things that we maybe don't think we like about ourselves, that we have to just let be, love and let be right now. So that's sort of like the precursor to this information that's coming in, this Lemurian way, which is just remembering, like, we have lived in this way, but now we're merging it with a lot of the things that we came here to tune into and tap into and understand. Like, there is some benefits to this digital world, and so like that is also an assistance in our evolution too, in a way, to our next level of evolution, because we can see outside of ourselves what this digital device is doing, and a part of us knows that's a technology that exists in us to be able to like communicate with anyone all over the planet at will. Like, that's a telepathic ability that every human has in their DNA somewhere. We just have yet to uncover it, most of us. And some of us have these random moments. But so these sciences, these old sciences coming together, this Lemurian and Atlantean information, like, it really feels as though like this is helping us to remember what we've already learned, we've already experienced in other worlds and other timelines, and to like merge that with the now, bring that online now in us, because we are together creating the new earth. Your consciousness and mine and yours and the person next to you that's not hung up on the old reality. We are co-creating the new world, literally like the Egyptian myth of Nut, who threw the net of the world. Like, there are many mythological stories that speak to exactly what's happening right now. And we are the divine beings who participate in the next creation story. And so I think it's beautiful that the stories of our past can inspire us to go in a new way. I like to say we made all the mistakes before. Now, if you're watching this video, then you are one who's ready for this information, and you know in your soul that you have already made all the mistakes. Like, you came here to assist in the shift because you know where it's going. And your consciousness is solid and can help lead it there. And so trust that. And more information to come. So thank you for joining me.